Have you ever felt a surge of doubt when everyone around you seemed to be following the conventional path? So I completely get where you're coming from, and for most of us, people around us, they usually work through Newtonian laws, right? And they don't know anything about law of attraction, quantum physics, or they just look at you that you're crazy and you're just naive. But let me tell you, you're not, and this is absolutely the way you need to work is through energy and not through Newtonian, because later, how I'm going to explain, you're going to see where the magic is actually happening. So, for example, you're looking into finding the love of your life, right? And everyone around you says, just to download all of the apps like Tinder, Bumble, or whatever, because, oh, you can find someone to date there, but you just don't feel that it's the right path for you. But you feel that pressure around you that, okay, you have to do it, otherwise, you're not going to find anyone in your life. Or, for example, you hate somewhere where you live, right? And you want to change that. You want to change your surroundings to feel better, to feel different. But nothing makes sense. How could that change? Because maybe you're in a different country than you want. Maybe you're in a different apartment that you want. And you want to make sure that you are actually changing those things around you, but nothing seems to make sense how you could change that. And everything that comes for you as a solution, especially from the others outside of you, right? To take that usual path that usually everyone does in order to change those things, rather than attracting those situations and make those things change for you. That fear of trusting the law of attraction process can really be paralyzing when you don't have the exact understanding that allows you to actually use that power into your own advantage and for that to make everything change in the world around you. But here's the secret: attraction does work, and you don't need to conform to any Newtonian laws in order for you to make those changes in your life. Let me get a little bit more scientific this time. So Einstein really revolutionized how we understand energy because of his famous equation of E equals mc squared. So what does this equation really mean to us? This tells us that what we see as a solid matter is really just energy in a super condensed form. So simply put, everything is made out of energy. You, me, your phone, all the buildings, everything that you can see, even our planet itself, everything is made out of energy. So taking it further, I actually want to incorporate Joe Dispenza's understanding and explanation of energy and how it works with the material world. So he says that nearly 100% of our reality is energy, and only a very, very small part of it, so he puts it as 99.99999% is energy, and everything that is left out of 100% is basically matter. It is physical. So this is very important to understand because this means that the physical world is just a surface expression of an incredible, dynamic, and powerful field. So to put it very simply, if we shift the energy, this is where the physical world really shifts. So inside our bodies, right, feeling is something that is indication of vibration, right? So what we feel is what we attract. So if we change the feeling, this is where we are able to attract different things. And if we are not changing the feeling and we're sitting in the same exact feeling as we're always sitting, right, it's not going to change anything for us. So one very profound insight here is that actually energy never vanishes. It has to be transformed. So in order for us to get what we want in life, so what we attract is literally what we are feeling inside. So in order for us to have everything different outside, we have to shift and transform that energy that is inside. So very important thing to understand here, if we are allowing ourselves to be consumed by everything that is surrounding us, or our base feeling that is created by everything that we lived up to this point, we are created by memories that we have from past, beliefs that we have throughout our whole life, right? All of this is creating our base energy. And if we're not transforming that energy, we're just completely in the waters of randomness. What we feel is what we attract. If we can change the feeling inside, this is where we actually are able to change surroundings around us. So main focus right now is actually negative emotions. Instead of trying to force them away, so for example, a lot of people are using distractions like Netflix, talking with other people, constantly going out, always, I don't know, reading books and everything. Those things are not bad, but I'm saying that a lot of people are using them as a distraction rather than feeling and going inside of themselves, and they literally cannot stop because they are too scared to be with themselves, be in that vibration, even though this is particularly why their life is the way that it is. Also, not to mention the gaslighting that is also happening in our minds when certain things are happening. We're just like, okay, it's gonna be fine, not a big deal, I can just chill out right now, it's just another day, who cares, and blah blah blah. And then years and years go by, and then we realize how much of a problem that actually was. So what if we learn to actually shift that base vibration and stop running away from it? Because this is where the magic starts happening. So it's not about denying what you feel, it's actually about listening to yourself, sitting with yourself, allowing those emotions to come up, dive deep into them, allow them to move through your body, because when you feel, you heal. This is where you allow that energy to actually be in your body and move through your body. And this is where it actually starts shifting. If you're suppressing that emotion, if you're distracting yourself with all of the different things around you, this is where that energy cannot move. It's going to always stay in the same place and nothing is going to change. And this is why a lot of people are getting bothered. This is why they have anxiety, depression, fear, and all those things. And this is where all of that medication to help them calm down really comes into place, when that is absolutely unnecessary. And those emotions do come up in order for them to be allowed to be transformed. So if you're someone who actually been in negative emotional loop for a long time, this is very good time for you. Why am I saying that? Because it means that you have a lot of energy which can be transformed, which will allow you to have all of that huge amount of energy to be released and actually start to be working into your advantage. So this is extremely powerful. And let me just repeat that again. All of that negative energy that you have right now can be shifted into powerful energy, which will start shifting your reality. So, of course, the big question right now is, how do we actually do that? So, I want to inform you that this is not going to be a comfortable process at first. When you're going to start experiencing the shifts from this process, after you already did like 2 or 3 times of these particular tools that I'm going to provide you, this is where it's going to get easier and easier, and you're going to actually be very excited each and every day to get into those tools. And you're going to even be excited to get triggered by certain things, because you're going to be able to work those blocks out and release more energy, the one that ripples out, right? And it allows you to attract the things that you want in your life. So first discomfort, but later on, the fruits are going to be absolutely amazing and juicy, and get ready. So at this point, if you're someone who have never looked into your negative emotions, essentially you are in the river, right? And you're holding for your dear life on that one branch. Maybe you find another branch in order for you to not go with the flow. So this is where we're going to be able to actually release from that branch and start going with the flow. It's going to be scary at first, but later on, you're going to understand how to navigate. And it's like that current is actually something that is going to move you towards what you want. When you're holding on that branch, you see only the things around you and you think that, oh, this is it, like this is the only thing that I have around. But that is not true, because universe has so many different sources, and like universe knows where you need to go. So this is where you allow that source to actually bring you where you have to be. I've been in spiritual world trying to understand how everything works for 7 years now. And for 4 years, I always only tried to focus on affirmations, meditations, subliminal messages, focusing on what's good, just trying to distract myself from those negative emotions. Because for me, I was growing up with a narcissist parent, and this is what left me as a neglected child, and I never have experienced love. I didn't even know the importance of feelings, so I tried to just push them away and not touch them at all. But for 4 years being in spirituality, maybe I had light switches here and there. Maybe I felt a little bit better also in places. I did attract some things, but it wasn't consistent. Like I still always, like my base emotion, my base vibration was not where I wanted to be at all. So I was going against myself through the whole time. So fifth year, no, I would say like 4th or 5th year into whole spiritual path, this is where I found shadow work and also the completion process from Teal Swan. So a little bit about these two tools. So, Teal Swan, this process is all about revisiting and healing past emotional wounds. So, imagine having an unresolved chapter in your life by going back, acknowledging the pain, and providing the closure you never received so you can release the pent up energy tied to those experiences. So, it's like finally finishing a story that was left hanging, which allows you to move forward with a lighter and more integrated self. Meanwhile, shadow work is something that involves exploring the hidden parts of yourself. So the feelings, thoughts, or behaviors that you usually keep in the dark, right? And rather than denying these aspects, you actually bring them into awareness, understand their origins, and also integrate them into your whole being. So think of it as cleaning your corners of your psyche so that you can live more authentically and free up energy for positive transformation. So I myself, I love to integrate these two because sometimes I just have the emotion and sometimes I don't have a particular emotion, but I want to dig in deeper. So this is where I take shadow work just to unravel what particular parts I want to work with. So I ask different questions. So I'm going to put some questions here. You can pause it for a moment and take a screenshot, what would allow you to explore a little bit more about your shadow. And from there, I take Teal Swans, the completion process. And this is where I dig in deep and actually close those loops from my childhood, from my previous experiences, so I can release that energy. One important thing that I want to acknowledge before I did start working with shadow work, with the completion process from Teal Swan, my biggest concern was I'm scared to feel bad, to feel those emotions, to go in deep, because what I focus on is what I attract. But there's another part to it, is what we resist persists. So if you're actually focusing on good just to distract yourself from bad, you're actually resisting the bad. So this is why the bad emotions, the bad frequency is something that is active, and this is what allows it to attract the things that you don't want in your life, even though you're like, I'm not even focusing on it, I'm not even thinking about it, because it's still active in your vibration. So this is why it's important to first work with shifting those negative emotions. I know it's scary, I know it's uncomfortable, I know that still, like, my mind is still each and every day, because I'm doing this work each and every day, it still says like, oh no, I really don't want to go there if it's a new emotion that I haven't tapped into. So if I actually tap into new issue, my brain always says like, no, don't go there. Don't, like, your ego is trying to protect you so hard. But don't worry, I promise you it's really, really worth it, because when you're actually going and diving deep into that resistance, you're transforming that energy. And this is where you don't have that resistance anymore. You don't get triggers from it anymore. It starts to work into your advantage. And when we're talking about focusing on something good, it actually becomes very, very effortless for you. So one of the biggest shifts was my love relationship, because I felt so in love like the most of my life. Only it shifted 3 years ago. This is where I worked through it for the first time. So this is where it shifted the most, because my self-talk before I actually attracted the love of my life was completely different from where and after I implemented this particular work. My self-talk was basically, no one is going to love me. I don't think I'm enough for a person. I don't think that there is a person who I like that would like me as well. They're too good for me. I'm sorry, but this mindset is not working out for anyone. And all of that is basically what I was attracting to myself. Then, when I did this work, this is where my self talk naturally shifted. I didn't need to brainwash myself. So, this is very important to understand that you are not going against the current. I'm repeating that because it makes so much easier for you to actually have your self-talk where it has to be, when you are actually digging out the root, rather than picking on branches and making and thinking like, oh, this is going to help. So my self-talk changed to, I love myself, I don't need anyone. If I'm going to meet someone who is actually going to be addition to my life, is going to make me even happier than I am just by myself, then I'm ready for it. But if I'm not even going to meet anyone in this lifetime, I'm very happy just by myself. And I really, really, really meant it. But this is definitely something that took time for me, and this was the scariest thing that I was working through in my own mind, because loneliness, just for us people, it's something that is rooted very, very deep inside. So it took for me, I kid you not, 2 weeks of consistent work each and every day until I took out all of the roots, all of the bad weeds from my from my vibrational garden, right? It was very unpleasant. I was really, really terrified, but it definitely was worth it. And after I worked this out, this is where it took about 6 months until I manifested the love of my life, my boyfriend that I have right now, and it came in very unusual way. And I said to all of my friends, "No, I'm not gonna take Tinder. I don't need all those things. I'm not chasing anything." Very important. You're not chasing anything you're attracting, because if you're chasing anything, that you're chasing is going to run away from you. So I sat in my power, and I literally did not care if I'm going to meet someone for me in this lifetime or not. Matter of 6 months, I met my guy. So why I'm saying that it was in very unusual and very nicely orchestrated way, because the universe put me in a job opportunity 3 months before I met him, where I met him. So I wasn't working even where I had to work in order to meet him. If it wasn't the right time, if it wasn't the right opportunity, it wouldn't have happened. But everything was orchestrated perfectly just because I let go, and my inner talk, my confidence, my peace, this is what allowed everything to come to me. And he was the one who actually showed interest first, because for me it was important as well, because I do believe in those feminine masculine dynamics. So everything just came together like a perfect piece puzzle. So I'm telling you, this thing works as a charm, but you have to be patient and you have to show your love for yourself first. So, in a nutshell, by getting to the root of negative emotion and unresolved pain, we release a huge amount of built up energy. This inner work resets the core energy, shifting our vibrational frequency in a more authentic and lasting way. This powerful shift not only transforms the way we feel internally, but also it changes everything that is surrounding us. So essentially, by working with energy, with our inner energy, this is where we're making changes in the outside world, and we're allowing the universe to realign everything to our energy, because when we vibrate differently, this is where universe has to match the frequency and throw away everything that is not for us. Very important thing as well, because you're going to see a decline in certain things that are not working out for you and is different than your energy. But you should not freak out. You should actually celebrate that, because universe is realigning, making sure that there is space for new things to come into your life. So another story that I want to share with you of what happened to me recently. So I think you noticed that I am in a different apartment than I was in my previous video. So what happened there? This was actually a very quick manifestation, and I didn't even put that much importance into it. And I think this is one of the reasons why it manifested so fast. So what happened is that me with my man, we actually talked that we would love to move somewhere that would be a little bit more nicer, and also there was different type of issues that were coming up. Essentially, we weren't comfortable in that particular apartment, and our lease is going to be up at that point only after 6 months, and there is no indication that something could change, that we would get back our deposit and we're free to go wherever we want, and we're not pushed out too fast, so we actually can have the time to pick and choose the place that we want to go to. If we would be looking into this from a Newtonian physics model, it's a little bit bad because then we're like, okay, we can plan on losing the deposit, then we take time whenever we want to move and where we want. So it's like losses here, losses there. It's uncomfortable with different type of things. So I wasn't even considering anything, but I thought it's an interesting thing to work on. This is why I'm saying that I didn't particularly put myself into a must kind of energy that this has to be changed. I just wanted to look into the situation, since we had quite a bit of experiences with renting different apartments, that we weren't happy with most of them. Something was missing, something was not it, somewhere landlord wasn't great. I just had enough, and I thought, let me work on this, because I don't like to be triggered just thinking about moving in general. I started thinking about everything where we had those experiences, where it started, and just closing those loops through Teal Swan's completion process where I wasn't happy with those particular situations. So in a matter of 3 days, I actually reached the point in myself where I was happy where we are. I didn't want to move anymore. I didn't care anymore. I was just happy all the time. And I was just appreciating, I just had that appreciative kind of energy about me the whole day, every day, for literally 3 days. And after 3 days, the landlord calls us and he says, I'm so sorry. I actually am planning to sell the apartment. How about I give you like month or month and a half so you have actually enough time to move? Is that okay for you? So deposit everything is not a problem. We're gonna figure out like I'm going to help you out and make sure that everything is good. So we're not losing deposit, we're moving, we have that time. So everything that I told you before that we wanted, but we didn't see a way how to get there, everything just aligned like this. Everything combined, I would say that it took a week because about 4 days I was just like sorting through those. I took about 20 minutes each day to just look into those patterns, what I had from the past. And then when I reached the point where I felt happy and I felt like everything is good, 3 days just feeling great attracted me this. So it did take a little bit of time, but everything was aligned perfectly. So you have to trust the timing of the universe when it's going to come in, and you have to, in a way, let it go. I know it's not easy, but it is easy when you're doing these particular practices because you reaching that vibrational point when you already feel like you have everything, this is where you're going to attract absolutely everything. So, in quick conclusion, remember that everything is energy. And by shifting your internal states, you can actually shift everything around you in your physical world. So, there's no need to chase anymore. There's no need to go out in the world and work in Newtonian physics laws. Work with your inner energy. Make sure to actually work with your inner emotions, the ones that are bothering you. And when you're going to figure it out, when you're going to release that energy, this is where universe has the energy to actually make those shifts for you and you're going to attract what you want. So think about my love relationship right now that I have where I attracted literally a person that is like completely for me. Also the apartment, even though it's not a big thing, but it's still a shift for me. It's an everyday thing. It's actually very, very important for me to feel good. And I wake up every day super, super happy and super excited. So everything can be shifted. Everything. And it will destroy the logic and common sense how it comes into your life. And usually when something comes randomly to you and it feels very, very good and very connected, this is where you're going to see that, okay, logic does not have to play a thing here. It is attraction. And sincerely, from my heart, when I was learning these things for 4 years, I really needed this gap filled between taking action, law of attraction, because I was so confused and the doubt that was inside of me. Like, I really wanted to believe that changing energy is what changing everything, but I didn't know which way should I come across it. How do I change things? It was just so much confusion for me. So I really hope that is going to help you out. And truthfully, when I found out about shadow work, about the completion process from Teal Swan, at that point, 4 years in, I didn't expect anything to change drastically because I didn't have any other changes. But at that point, I was like, okay, let's just try it, even though it's scary. I made sure to get as much knowledge as possible about these two tools. And when I got it and I went in for it, I started feeling better. And this was my main focus, is that I wanted to feel better. And when it allowed me to feel better, it's like, okay, this works. I didn't have any manifestations from it. I had only emotional change, emotional transformation that I felt better. And for me, this was enough. And this is where change is starting to happen. And as father of love attraction, Neville Goddard says, feeling is the secret, because feeling is energy and energy is everything, as we already know from Einstein and Joe Dispenza. So when you shift the feeling, you change the material world for yourself. And by the way, I forgot to mention that if you would like to be guided through the whole completion process, also with shadow work and just the way I do this particular process, how I work with myself, let me know. I will leave my email down below. Reach out and we can actually schedule that one-on-one session with me and let you attract the things that you want to attract in your life way, way faster. But other than that, I will make sure to actually put all the resources down below that is going to be more than enough for you to start implementing that process for yourself. And yeah, looking forward for your shifts as well.